I can say that forensic experts are playing a crucial role in gathering of high quality evidence in cases of alleged ill treatment and torture, because all these practices of ill treatment and torture can leave different types of traces and damages on one's body, both physically and mentally, psychologically. So myself being a forensic doctor, basically, to make it very simple, I'm looking into one's body, to see the signs of fresh trauma, still visible traces and sequela of these practices, like scars, then healed fractures, the other types of damages, neurological damages, damages to internal organs, depending, of course, of the type of practice that has been exercised against the victim within this ill treatment session or sessions. Okay, so my name is Djordje Alempijevic, and I'm a professor of forensic medicine at School of Medicine, University of Belgrade in Serbia. In the 2000s, I have joined the initiative led by the IRCT and University of Copenhagen, which was within the framework of EU project, but at that time, to establish a group of dedicated forensic experts from different countries, which became known as the Independent Forensic Expert Group. So far, the evidence that has been collected by the members of the IFEG has been presented in many international and national courts to support judicial proceedings in these cases, and also cases of claims for compensation of damage that has been incurred by victims of torture and ill treatment. Finally, we beside examining the victims, we are also examining the medical records, if available, because these people might have been treated before we come to assess them, and then we interpret the content of these medical files, if available, and we interpret our findings, and finally we discuss them in line with the let's say medical literature and knowledge and evidence-based medicine, to reach the conclusions whether there are consistency in between the findings and the allegation of ill treatment. And if there is consistency, then also to let's say somehow to provide a degree of consistency in between the two. This was the exercise, basically, to collect these 50 cases, and then to go through all these cases and try to identify the pattern, if such pattern exists. I mean, that was the idea originally. And once we have completed this assessment, we were able to recognize the pattern, which was repetitive, not only in the capital city of Minsk, but also in the other cities of Republic of Belarus, which give us a flavor that basically it was coordinated action from the highest command levels, if I may say so, in different cities, and that was a clear policy, you know, to use violence against people who were either protesting or deemed to be involved in a protest, you know. And it was clear that a use of force, according to injuries that we have been seeing, mainly on the photos, but also injuries that we have been able to, let's say, understand from the medical reports provided by victims themselves. So that these injuries has been caused by deliberate violence. So it was not consistent with lawful use of special means, because every law enforcement can at some point, according to legislation in particular country, resort to use of special means, you know, to establish control over a person on apprehension, or to disperse riots or protests, etc. In the cases that we have seen and that are presented by photos in the report, it will be easy for even for medically lay people and those who are not let's say experienced in medical legal assessment of injuries, to understand that there was a repeated and deliberate infliction of injuries, which is not consistent with use of special means in a riot situation or in a public arrest. But it clearly shows that the person was apprehended and then beaten up, let me put it bluntly, in a very punitive way, you know, basically to convey the message that this is something which will not be tolerated by the authorities.
Видели, как правоохранительные органы забирали людей, мирные протестующие, мирные демонстранты. Мы видели, как били этих людей, и мы видели, как выходили из Окрестина молодые парни, да, с побоями. Это мы видели, это не взято с интернета, да, это мы видели. Кадры, вот смотрите.
Не надо, я это признаю.
Вы признаете?
И в Окрестина получали там, и избитые в милицию, вы только не...
It is clearly, let's say, explained in a report that the violence had started at the site of apprehension, usually streets, squares, I mean, places where people are gathering. But also it extends once it extends beyond the point once the person who has been apprehended has been, let's say, handcuffed and restrained. And we can certify basically that these allegations are consistent with the findings, because we were able to see a number of parallel adjacent lesions, let's say consistent with truncheon blows, for instance. So if the person would not be immobile by restraint, these injuries will be in different directions. So if the person, let's say, will be struggling against a law enforcement officer, for instance, or officers, then of course you will see different patterns and direction of these injuries. which was not the case in the cases that have been submitted to our attention.